Right, so I'm going to install the Lelit needle valve system on the ACS Minima dual boiler machine. As you can probably see, this is a solenoid group, there's no lever. So the installation is very, very simple on a solenoid group, but there are some tricks. So I'm not using Lelit's instructions. The first thing is protect the jaws of the spanner with heavy duty duct tape and try not to use too much force. I've got a wide jaw spanner with jaw protectors. If I had two, I'd actually use the other one on the top nut, because it's that nut that has to be removed. I don't have two. I was going to buy one, but it was £9 and I just, I'll save my money and protect the chrome with that. So fit this spanner on here and make sure you close it up so that it's a tight push fit onto that larger nut. And we'll just support the bottom here, support the machine, and we'll push that on. Okay, now we take this one and we push it on here, support. There we go. I've actually loosened it before, I do admit I've already done it, but you will hold this, you will loosen on here. You will see me tighten it up properly. You don't want this big one to turn. This big one should be locked around nice and tight. That's where the main mushroom is. Then carefully take this off. Try not to knock your chrome. I'm going to remove these out of the way now. And we're going to take this off. And here's the Teflon washer that comes in the kit. I'm going to actually, I could reuse this Teflon washer probably. Now, they say use tweezers to get the gauze out. Well, you won't need to, because the gauze without the valve fitted is quite long. And there it is. That catches any particulates in the group. We'll put that down. Then there's the 7mm socket for the guicleur, and you can see the guicleur in the top of the group. I'll show you. You put the socket down, it's on there, just tweak it out. It's brass, so do not put it in too tight. It doesn't need to be intrinsically tight. It won't come out in the socket unless you've a really tight fitting socket. So you can get tweezers and just grab it. I'm trying desperately not to drop it in the cat litter tray. Grab it out with tweezers. And there it is, there's my old guicleur. Now, this is probably a 0.7, and I'll just show you that you can't leave your old one in, because the needle valve requires a larger guicleur. And if you look, you can see that this pin will not fit in that guicleur. So you must take that out, very important. So that's out. And you take your plastic tube, take a guicleur from that. Like I say, I don't know why they give you two, but they do, so it's great. Just take one gently. And there it is. There's the new guicleur with this larger hole. Put that down and slide one piece of gauze out. Now you will notice there's a difference in the height of the gauze. And that's because there's a difference in the height of the valve system, and with the longer piece of gauze poking in, it's going to go up in amongst the O-rings, and it's not really going to fit. When you screw it down, it's going to collapse. So you'll need to use their sort of smaller piece of gauze as a filter. And so we've got to get this in the group. Now they say in the instructions you can just put it in here, turn it up and put it in the group. Because it drops out, it's impossible. Normally when you screw these guicleurs in, you hold it upright like that, you undo this big nut, turn the whole thing upright and put in the guicleur. So to get that in, you're going to have to use a little trick. First thing you'll do is use a bit of kitchen towel, mop up all the water out of the group. Just makes it easier. I'd already done that when I loosened it off. And take a piece of damp kitchen towel like that. It's got to be the type that doesn't disintegrate, the sort of polyester type. Put it over the nut like that, just one piece, one small piece, and push the guicleur into it, and that will hold the guicleur. Make sure all the paper is above the thread. And now you can actually take the guicleur, you can start it within the groove, no trouble. You don't have to screw it all the way in, not initially. Get that off and fish out the piece of paper you used with the tweezers, and make sure there's no little bits left in the group. That's just a little trick to get that in, and check that your group is all clean inside, that there's nothing floating about, nothing you don't want in there. It's going to block that hole. That's all looking pretty good. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty good. So now, to finish the fit, we put the gauze in. We put that over the guicleur gently. We screw this bit on. Now, what we've got the washers in here, or we've got the washers on the group nut. Personally, I'll leave that washer. I might as well use the one with the kit. The only thing is your group manufacturer's washer might fit your group better. I'm going to use the one with the kit. Before I do, the one thing I want to do is moly coat it. And that's just a smear of moly coat on the washer, both sides. Now I smear it a bit halfway around, and I don't smear all of it because where I'm holding, that moly coat will actually twist round as the washer moves. I don't want it on my fingers. It's horrible stuff when you get it on your fingers. And let's just, I can turn it here, careful not to touch the bit I greased, and then when I put the group back on, the rest of it will catch some lube. And then I'll put a bit on the thread. You don't need to, but it's rather nice, I think, to have a little bit of something on the thread. And take this and screw it in. Now, very gently, and while you lubricate the thread, it gives you some feel. Yeah, you've actually got feel. This is screwed, by the way, all the way up, all the way out before you even begin to tighten this down. And don't tighten it up yet. Take the top and turn it and see if you can close it off completely, or whether you're jamming on the guicleur. Now, at the moment we don't know. Let's take off our spare washers, put those aside. Now, at the moment we don't know if we're able to stop the flow completely or not, so we're just going to check that. So I'm going to screw it up a little bit, and I'm going to tighten this down. And of course I only need the top nut now. I'm going to tighten this on so it's tight. Right, let's assume for now that's tight enough. I'm not going to go any tighter yet. And what I want to do, I'll just get a bit of microfiber. Cloudy from the glue in the tape. Clean that up so that if there's a leak, I can actually see it. Okay, so turn the machine on, and what we're going to do, we're going to turn this valve all the way in and see if water comes out. Now, if water comes out, it means that pin is sitting not in the hole but beside the hole, but it isn't coming out. Now I open it, and water comes out. So yeah, that seems to be working quite well. I'm going to put the paddle on. So I'm going to close it completely. That's pretty much closed. I'm going to put the paddle on, and I'm going to say, well, look, that's closed there, so put that hard against the case. I've already put the grub screw in, and I've only closed it finger tight. I've got it, perhaps I haven't got it in right. Let me get this in correctly. There we go. So that's all the way down. It's closed all the way, and it's tight. And again, don't do it terrifically tight. So I can now open and close. See what happens. No flow. I don't know if you can see. And now I get flow. Now the geometry of every group, because they're not all the same, is going to affect how this will work. So almost pretty much no flow. To full flow. Now we're going to measure the flow rate with this needle valve in. Okay, so I'm ready to do a flow test. What I'm going to do is, for a period of time at maximum flow, see what I get out of the valve system and measure that. So I'm going to run it for 10 seconds, tip it into a measuring beaker and see what I get out. So I'll just wait for the right mark, and we'll see what comes out of this system over a 10-second period. Multiply that by 6, that's the flow rate per minute. There we go. So over a 10-second period, we got 60 mils. Yeah. Now that's 60 on the mark there. 60 mils in 10 seconds. 6 times that's 360 mils a minute, which is fine. Which is absolutely fine at full flow, because in an espresso shot, even a treble, you're probably not going to use much more than 50 mils, 60 mils of water. You know, you're not going to use that much. So you were doing a double shot lungo, and you were using, say, 20 grams, and you were going to pull out even 80 grams, you still would never use more than 90 mil of water, even including the water in the puck, to do that. So 60 mils in 10 seconds, 360 mil a minute, no problem at all. One of the things as well you might find the system sort of beds in as you use it a bit, and you might find that this paddle now feels like it'll go around a bit further. So I might adjust it. I'm just going to do that. And to adjust it, it's quite simple, because it's hot as well. And this is the other thing. I adjusted my paddle when it's cold. When the group is hot, the clearances will change. You'll need to do your final adjustments with a hot group, because as the group is cold, it'll actually flow more when it's hot, and the off position will allow more and more flow as the metals expand. So I'm just going to fine tune this paddle now, and I can feel, that it needs it. So turn it till it's off, yeah. And it's now, that's definitely off. I haven't pressed too hard. And if we check the flow, as you can see, just the odd drip, I was getting more flow. Bring the paddle round so that you're up against the case in that same position. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to come back and you're going to check that group again when it's fully heated up, and that means in 20 minutes we're going to come back and we're going to check this paddle again. I'll turn this off and I'll come back in 20 minutes. None of this is in the instructions, but if you set it all up with a cold group, you'll find the flow will be different on a hot group, and we'll